Facebook.com/RadioNow953FM.
We're on Twitter too. Connect with us there and get involved.
At RadioNow953FM. 953FM. Like what we do? Share it on your socials and tell everyone.
Want to see some more of us? Head over and meet us on Instagram
at RadioNow953FM. Get in touch. We'd love to hear from you.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
You're listening to Now Breakfast.
Good morning. This is your daily security watch on Now Breakfast.
Good morning again. Security Watch on Now Breakfast. A mobile policeman attached to the Maru Police Division was killed by terrorists who attacked Ruwan Dorua, a community in Maru local government area of Zamfara State, yesterday. Residents said 13 people, consisting of 6 women, 5 men and 2 children, were abducted by the terrorists during the attack that lasted more than 2 hours. The community leader said the terrorists came to abduct residents of the community so that they could collect ransom before releasing them. The Zamfara State Police spokesperson, Yazid Abubakar, did not respond to an SMS sent to him on the attack. Maru is also one of the most insecure communities in Zamfara State. Attacks by terrorists are common in the town and surrounding neighborhood. And still on security watch this morning, suspected Boko Haram insurgents have attacked the convoy of Yobe State Governor Maimala Buni along Maiduguri Damaturg Road, killing a policeman and injuring 3 others. The attack took place on Saturday after the governor attended the 24th convocation of the University of Maiduguri, Borno State, according to an eyewitness who was in the entourage but spoke on the condition of anonymity. The attackers opened fire on the convoy from both sides of the highway, targeting the pilot. Governor Buni was absent in the convoy when the incident happened on their way back to Damaturu, the state capital. He was said to have traveled to Abuja for an official function. This is the first time that the convoy of the Yobe State Governor has been attacked since the commencement of the Boko Haram insurgency 12 years ago. And that's Security Watch this morning on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. I am David Chiedu. Stay tuned. Up next, today in the news.
Good morning. This is your daily security watch on Now Breakfast.
We are Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
This is Now Breakfast.
Now Breakfast here on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. Today, Monday the 20th of November 2023. I am David Chiedu. 2 police officers attached to the convoy of the Yobe State Governor Maimala Buni have been killed. The police officers died over the weekend after suspected Boko Haram insurgents attacked the governor's convoy while on its return from the convocation ceremony of the University of Maiduguri in Borno State. Governor Buni, however, was not in the convoy that had 2 others sustaining serious injuries. To get a better sense of what happened and also the security situation in the state, we are joined this morning by Usman Adamu Muhammad. He is a journalist based in Borno State. Good morning, Mr. Muhammad.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Right. Can you give us a sense of what's going on? What are the authorities saying with regards to this incident?
Okay, thank you so much. Let me say that on Saturday, I was also passed through that road, coming back to Maiduguri after attending the same event. That's the combined convocation ceremony of the University of Maiduguri. And to go to straight to The incident happened at about 5:30 to 6 o'clock at along Jakana Mainok, which is one of the deadliest location where Boko Haram used to hide. But of course, there are a lot of contradicting stories about the incidents. Some said it's not actually Boko Haram because, like I've said, it's about, many months since we have any report of an incident or Boko Haram attack on that axis. But then this is, and if you read from the official statement released by the officials, they said it's not Boko Haram, it's just a terrorist attack, and this is majorly where people believe, because it's not actually Boko Haram attack. It's because I've spoken with some of the security personnel, they have even confirmed to me that it's not a Boko Haram attack, but rather some of their internal issues within the security forces, which I cannot tell you the real situation. But of course, I can tell you that it's not a Boko Haram attack.
Now, relative to the other parts of the state, how exactly is the security situation in Borno State?
Yeah, let me say, this kind of incident used to happen, and of course, they don't have much impact on the internal, especially the cities. But of course, sometimes, when such incidents happen, the securities will just come and tighten the security situation, put some checkpoints, you see. But then, when you come down to the main cities, you'll not see any impact apart from just discussions by the people at the joints. But of course, there are some level of security. For instance, sometimes they used to give some curfews and reduce the normal time, especially when people used to come in and out of the town. So, but basically there is no, big impact in terms of maybe panic or any tension by people in respect to the attack.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Usman Adamu Mohammed, for joining us this morning. Mr. Mohammed is a journalist based in Borno State, talking to us about the security situation in Borno with regards to the attack on the governor's convoy, Governor Mai Mala Buni of Yobe State, by the way. This is Still Now Breakfast. Coming up, some more conversation. Stay close.
You're listening to Now Breakfast.
Hear from the newsmakers.
The government is putting in place a new budget implementation tracker.
Go to the heart of the story.
Now, let us start from the beginning. From where did this so-called note come?
This is your breakfast interview on Now Breakfast. This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
We are Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos.
From the north to the south, real people.
So like I said to you, it's some serious elements of the outdone and the issue of my party whose tenure elapsed, who are pleading with me to endorse an illegal extension, and I refuse to be a part of any illegality.
Real stories every morning.
Most of the IDP, they stay in schools, and once they move in schools, when there is a disaster, the school in that area is automatically shut down.
This is Today in the News on Now Breakfast.
Caleb Mutfwang, the executive governor of Plateau State, has been sacked by the Court of Appeal. The court, in its ruling, overturned the ruling of the state's governorship tribunal, saying that the governor was not validly sponsored by his party, the People's Democratic Party, during the election. They also ordered that a certificate of return be presented by the Independent National Electoral Commission to the candidate of the All Progressives Congress in Intawe Goshwe. To discuss this morning, we're joined by Anthony Bamidele Ojo. He's a legal practitioner. Good morning, Mr. Ojo. Thank you for joining us.
Good
Good morning, sir.
Right. What are your reactions to the judgment so far?
Well, my initial reaction was that of shock, but later on I wasn't really shocked because of the earlier judgments that had been delivered by the Court of Appeal nullifying the elections of the senators and honorable members of the House of Representatives from the state on the issue of improper nomination. I was shocked because judgments from the Court of Appeal and Supreme Court have been stated to the effect that the issue of nomination is, one, is an internal party matter. Two, it is the national body of the party that has jurisdiction over nomination of senators, so senatorial candidates, honorable members, House of Rep candidates, and governors. So you see, I'm just bewildered that we are having these conflicting judgments every step of the way, and it's not going to go well for our democracy and for our country.
Now, first,
it looks to me like what has happened so far. It looks to me like there is some deliberate attempt to deny the people of Plateau State their right to choose who their leaders are, who their senators are, who their representatives are. That's just what I feel about it.
Now, first we saw Kano State, and now we're seeing this in Plateau State. The judges argue that these cases are post-election matters as well. Now, despite this, despite Supreme Court precedent, why are we still seeing this?
Absolutely. Just like you said, you mentioned Kano. I was surprised to hear when it was said that the governor of Kano State was not even a member of his political party, and all those issues concerning his nomination and all what. That also is surprising too. Because like the judgments, we've heard judgments that said, look, these matters are pre-election matters. So ordinarily, I'd expected that the court would discountenance any such issues that had been brought up before it. So this confusion is, I don't know what else to call it, but the confusion that is being created by this judgment that we are getting now is not going to take us anywhere. Like I said about Plateau State, there is a deliberate attempt to deny the individuals of Plateau State their right to choose who will lead them, who will govern them. This is the same scenario that is going to be played out in Kano. Already, I've seen some stories in the media already that the immediate past governor of Kano State had been boasted that his party was going to take Kano back.
Right. Now, quickly, because of time, what your legal practitioners, what are the constitutional, or what is the constitutional framework for these sort of issues?
The constitutional framework is what the Supreme Court has laid down already, which is that the issue of nomination for election into the House of Representatives, the Senate, or the governorship position is to be governed and controlled by the national body, not by the state's working committee of the party, but the national working committee of the party. And that is why it is usually the national working committee that sends people to go to the states to screen candidates that conducts the primaries, not the state's working committee. That is what the Constitution has laid down, and that is what has been held like a rock of Gibraltar by the Supreme Court and Court of Appeal alike. Also, the issue of nomination of the candidate, it is also clear from the provisions of the Electoral Act that these are matters that should be brought to court. So within 14 days after the act has been carried out, after the primaries have been conducted. So clearly, we don't need to. One doesn't need a prophet or a seer to know that these are what the Constitution has stated clearly. So why having the courts, go in this direction is really saddening, I must say.
Now, this we're seeing now is the third experience or the third account of the opposition in 4 days, or a period of 4 days. In your view, what are the implications of this conflicting judgment?
The implications are that
our justice system?
Yes, the implication that we are doing very grievous harm to our democracy. But at the end of the day, we will continue to have court-installed governors, court-installed senators, court-installed House of Representative members. Then I don't understand. We are not practicing a democracy. We are not practicing a democracy. I don't know what to call it. Maybe to call it autocracy or what. We are not practicing democracy.
All right.
It's not going to all go well for our constitution. It's not going to all go well for our country.
Okay.
And we need to do something about it.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Bamidele Ojo, for joining us on the program this morning. Yes, you're still listening to Now Breakfast here on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. More conversations coming up. Stay close.
You're listening to Now Breakfast.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
Connect with us now via our social media channels. Facebook.com/RadioNow953FM.
We're on Twitter too. Connect with us there and get involved.
At Radio Now 953FM. 953FM. Like what we do? Share it on your socials and tell everyone.
Want to see some more of us? Head over and meet us on Instagram
at Radio Now 953FM. Get in touch. We'd love to hear from you.
From the north to the south, real people.
So like I said to you, it's some serious elements of the outdone and official of my party whose tenure elapsed, who are pleading with me to endorse an illegal extension, and I refuse to be a part of any illegality.
Real stories every morning.
Most of the IDP, they stay in schools. And once they move in schools, when there is a disaster, the school in that area is automatically shut down.
This is Today in the News on Now Breakfast.
The Osun State Governor, Ademola Adeleke, has reversed his decision of appointing an acting State Chief Justice following the suspension of Justice Adigbele Ojo. Justice Ojo was suspended by the State Governor after a resolution and recommendation of the State House of Assembly, who is investigating her on allegations of gross misconduct. An industrial court in the state had earlier barred the governor or the State Assembly from suspending or sacking her. This morning we get a better sense of what led to the actions with Shino Abubakar. He's a journalist based in Osun State. Mr. Abubakar, good morning and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Can you hear me? Very well.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right. Now, does Osun State have a Chief Justice as we speak right now, or does it not?
Well, going by the release or the statement of the governor yesterday through the Commissioner for Information and Public Enlightenment, Kolapo Alimi, going by that statement, it means Osun State has a Chief Judge presently as we speak. If the statement is anything to go by, if it has credibility at all. But as at last Thursday, following the resolution of the House of Assembly that the Chief Judge should step aside, and also its recommendation to the governor to appoint an acting Chief Judge in order not to create a vacuum, and the governor, in a statement by his spokesperson, Olawale Rasheed, suspending the Chief Judge, Justice Adigbele Ojo, and also appointed the most senior judge in the rank, that is Justice Olayinka David Afolabi, as acting Chief Judge, and also scheduled that the swearing-in would take place Friday last week. Unfortunately, throughout Friday, nothing of such actually happened. So, as it is today, following the statement of the Commissioner for Information yesterday, it means Justice Adigbele Ojo is still the Chief Judge of the state.
Now, we do know that the NJC have given their thoughts, or rather the NBA, beg your pardon, have given their thoughts on this issue, condemning, what they consider an illegality. What's been said so far coming from the state?
Well, since Thursday, the moment the news break out, well, I need to give you this background. The news doesn't fly out until journalists reported the NJC interlocutory injunction restraining the governor, the House of Assembly, and the Judicial Service Commission from tampering with, terminating, or interfering with the judiciary in the state. Now, about 30 minutes after that news was in the public, that was when the State House of Assembly said it passed a resolution, and the statement of the of the governor by a spokesperson came out immediately, and subsequently a statement appointing Justice Afolabi as acting chief judge. Now, feelers in the state, many people in the state have been criticizing the action of the governor, believing that he lacks the capacity, the power to single-handedly suspend the chief judge without recourse to the NJC. So all of these things follow, and also particularly the NBA statement of Saturday made it worse. And I think with the decision of so many other stakeholders in the state criticizing that very particular decision, I believe that was what led to that statement of yesterday, that the governor had not suspended yet, and that he has sent all the resolution and recommendation to the NJC and waiting for the NJC's decision on the matter. I need to also tell you that on Friday, we reached out to the Commissioner for Information, wanting to know that following the failure of the government to swear in an active chief judge, was there a vacuum? And he categorically said, yes, there is a short vacuum owing to the fact that the NJC has not given its decision of a verdict on their reports to them and all of these things. But thank God, or maybe due to criticism, civil society organizations have been on the governors criticizing that decision, and everybody citing all the legal precedents regarding the suspension of chief judge in the state. And today, by God's grace, the state government reverses itself yesterday, saying it has not, in the first place, suspended the chief judge, neither has it appointed any judicial officer as the acting chief judge.
Okay, now the House of Assembly claims several petitions were written against the suspended Chief Justice. Can you speak to us with regards to these petitions specifically?
Yes, I saw a copy of the petition on social media, actually, signed by one. I can't really recollect the name now. However, the wrong thing is the House of Assembly said it received the petition. It has not investigated the petition. It has not asked the chief judge to defend herself regarding the petition. So its statement is that after saying she should step aside, it then asked her to present herself before the House Committee on Ethics, Judiciary and Co., so that she can come and defend the petition. And the House of Assembly has done one or two things in similar manner, asking someone to go on suspension. For instance, the case of the former rector of Osho State Polytechnic, a petition was written and he was asked to go on suspension until they conclude investigation on such matter. So ditto for the judiciary, forgetting the fact that the judiciary is a separate arm of government and independent arm of government. Fine, the House of Assembly may have the power to investigate, but it does not have the power to declare her guilty. It will rather send the outcome of its investigation through the governor to the NJC, and the NJC will also do its own findings, investigate, and whether she is guilty or not, then recommend to the state government decisions to take. But unfortunately, the House of Assembly said it acted in line with the Constitution. It quoted, I think, Section 262 of the Constitution, that by a two-thirds majority, they can suspend the chief judge of the state, that the head of court can be suspended. Unfortunately, the civil society has taken the House of Assembly on and telling them that they acted in youthful exuberance. They do not have the power to investigate and declare her guilty.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Abubakar, for joining us in the program this morning, beg your pardon. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Mr. Shino Abubakar is a journalist based in Osun State, talking to us about the situation there with regards to the acting, with regards to the state governor reversing his decision of appointing an acting state chief justice, and of course the woes of the Chief Justice, the embattled Chief Justice Adegbele, there in Osun State. Stay close. More conversations coming up next on News Extra. Good morning.
This is Now Breakfast.
We are Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos.
Babes, now how much be sanitary pad for your area?
Omo, na play we been dey play before. Everybody wey dey this place wey be human being, na pad dey buy take do period. She go bring her wrapper, cut all her wrapper wey she get. They use the do period. Which kind of nonsense be this?
Ijoma, see what you are saying to your fellow woman who is in need. Ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn ti pọ̀ jù.
Now so they use clothes now. Abi we no go chop first.
Auntie Ijoma, what did my mommy ever do to you? It's not fair.
Now if a story be this, My Period, My Pride radio drama season 1. Now sanitary pad media campaign power up with support from MacArthur Foundation
and Radio Now 95.3 FM every Saturday at 10 a.m.
The Financial Services Regulation Coordinating Committee, FSRCC, in collaboration with the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, wishes to draw the attention of the public to the activities of illegal financial operators, IFOs, which threaten public trust and the stability of the Nigerian financial system. The general public is hereby advised to refrain from dealing with unlicensed financial operators who deceive individuals with unrealistically high investment returns. Verify the licensing status of such schemes on this website: www.cbn.gov.ng, www.nicom.gov.ng, www.pencom.gov.ng, www.sec.gov.ng. To report any suspicions of illicit financial activities, call 0700 225 5226, 0800 225 5226, or +234 817 665 6273. Announcer, FSRCC.
We are Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations. For every news story, there's more.
So we can write the best security architecture plan, but it remains an essay until it becomes manifest on ground.
More detail.
Every time you are doing reform, even when we were doing it 2006, 2007, the question is also that it's not the right time. When will be the right time?
More than just the headline. This is News Extra on Radio Now 95.3 FM.
News Extra this morning on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. Amidst the ongoing killing of civilians in Gaza, South Africa is among the few countries that are condemning Israel's action. It has also taken actions like recall of ambassador and entire diplomatic corps and referring to the International Criminal Court. There are also debates in its parliament for the country to cut diplomatic ties with Israel and close its embassy in Israel. Although there are dissenting voices against these actions, today on News Extra we find out why South Africa is doing all of these. Eric Naki, a political editor with Citizen News in South Africa, joins us this morning. Hello Eric, thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Right on. Now, how are South Africans reacting to this stance by the government?
Yeah, generally there is a widespread condemnation of what is happening in Israel, both by Hamas, the actions that Hamas took on the 7th of October. There was a condemnation about that, but there is more condemnation against Israel for the way it is handling the issue, targeting children, women, and non-military targets in the way it is handling that. Generally, South Africans are opposed to this, but some of the opposition parties, of course, appear to be in support of Israel. There is a bit of a division amongst political parties, but in general in South Africa, people expressed shock at the horror scenes they saw on television of how people, children, women, and buildings were destroyed with missile bombings in Gaza. So South Africans, the majority of South Africans are really angry about it, but there is a small minority that seems to be sympathetic to Israel in South Africa.
Is that the reason why, or can that be said to be the reason why South Africa is taking this stance?
South Africa always took a stance against the Israel in the way that Israel is violating human rights of the people of Gaza or Palestine as a whole. It has always taken a stance even before this incident. South Africa has always been on the side of the Palestinian people. Also consider the fact that the ANC, which is the ruling party in South Africa, is part of the liberation movement. It was a liberation movement that fought against apartheid. It vowed that wherever oppression happens in the world, they will always be siding with those people, as they do with the people of Western Sahara in Morocco. They vowed that they will support the people of Palestine. Hence the actions they've taken to withdraw the entire diplomatic corps in Israel, and there is a threat or something is going to happen with regards to the Israeli ambassador to South Africa. It's a matter of time.
Now, some critics say that if South Africa is taking this stance at the moment and referring Israel to the ICC, why did it oppose the trial of President Putin, who seems to be doing more or less the same thing?
Okay, yes, the way it is, South Africa did not necessarily oppose the arrest of Putin. What they did at the United Nations, they abstained from the vote that was voting against Russia's action in Ukraine.
Isn't that in some way a tacit support? Some would say.
Last week, that's a question that we asked the Minister of International Relations, Naledi Pandor. She said abstention doesn't mean support or opposition. It means you decided that you are not going to vote either or. That is exactly what how she defended this. She says they never expressed public support to say they support what Russia is doing in Ukraine. But at the same time, you must remember that the ANC has got long relationships with the Soviet Union before Russia came into being. Russia, as it is now, has been in support of the ANC liberation struggle against apartheid. So there is a bit of history between the ANC and Russia, which could also have influenced the ANC stance, but they have not stated publicly as the government to say we support Russia. Except to say that they abstain and they interpreted the reason for their abstention to say that they neither support or oppose anything.
So what are other South African political parties saying, particularly the far left EFF?
The far left, the EFF, is vehement in support of the Palestinian people. The EFF has been addressing rallies of the Palestinian people, solidarity. The EFF is now submitted a motion in Parliament calling for the ambassador of Israel to South Africa to be sent home, to be dismissed, removed from South Africa, and for South Africa to break all diplomatic ties with Israel.
Right.
And they also support the idea that Israel must be taken to the ICC, which is what I think the ANC or the government has expressed their willingness to support the EFF motion. There is going to be a vote in Parliament this week where this matter is going to be voted. And for the first time, the ANC, which is the governing party, is going to support this thing, which means the removal of the Israeli ambassador and him being sent home. That's what the government is going to support.
Right. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, Mr. Naki. Many thanks.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Eric Naki is a political editor with Citizen News in South Africa, and he has joined us this morning to talk about South Africa's stance against Israel in the ongoing war with Palestine. You're listening to Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos, and that is News Extra for today. Up next is the News Review. Stay close.
For every news story, there's more.
So we can write the best security architecture plan, but it remains an essay until it becomes manifest on ground.
More detail.
Every time you are doing reform, even when we were doing it 2006, 2007, the question is also that it's not the right time. When will be the right time?
More than just the headline. This is News Extra on Radio Now 95.3 FM. This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
News and information go around every second. The ones who deliver it and how matter. We give you depth, substance from the real sources.
I made statements in that regard, and the first point I called was the National Working Committee.
There wasn't any agreement between Bashir Machina and Ahmad Lawan.
The DPO, the Divisional Police Officer who is on grounds there, went there.
Also giving you a more human angle on the events that matter.
They are not people that live in mansions, but they are people that live in the localities, and the people are afraid to
There are so many issues there in area boys. Then we now went to...
Let's cut the convention and rather have a conversation. Radio Now 95.3 FM, Lagos. We go beyond the news.
Let's go beyond the news. Let's talk facts.
First and foremost, the government will never kowtow to the threat of any group to give it conditions.
Let's discuss your opinion.
The politicians in Nigeria don't understand the principle of politics.
The day's biggest news stories.
IPOB has been covered in themselves in glory. There is nothing special about them. It's like a witch cried at night and the child died following morning.
This is the News Review on Now Breakfast.
Once again, it is the News Review here on Now Breakfast on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos today, Monday the 20th of November 2023. How are you doing? I'm hoping you're having a good morning so far. I am David, and joining me this morning for analysis is Radio Now's Camry Apollo. Good morning, Camry.
Morning, David. Good morning, listener.
Right on, right on. So before we get into the deep end, we're going to start with your, choice, if you like, of conversation, for the weekend, what you went through, and what you fancy talking about as far as the biggest stories are concerned. Having gone through all, what jumped at you and what tickled your fancy?
I'll be honest, it's part of what you discussed early on in the program, and that's the situation in Osun State, the suspension, not sacking, the suspension of the Chief Justice. Couple of things stand out for me, and clearly, due process wasn't followed. The first port of call, if you've got any complaints regarding the judge, is the National Judicial Council, just like a resource person said. So clearly, due process wasn't followed. I was a bit concerned about that because the judiciary has drawn our attention as a country. No thanks to the elections, petitions, and so on and so forth. Many people questioning the ability of the judiciary to deliver justice and so on. So these are not very encouraging things. I was a bit nervous. So to hear the incident with the Chief Justice, just took the temperature up one more notch, which is not in our best interest, truth be told. The reason is this. Again, due process wasn't followed. It's not a matter of It's not rocket science. I think a couple of questions for me were, number one, regarding the state House of Assembly, the state legislators. It is either one of two things. Either they did not know the process, which means they are unsuitable to hold that office.
Absolutely.
Or they knew the process, but they damned the consequences and just went ahead with what was clearly, an illegality. And that's even more dangerous. So those two things are not encouraging, because the country today, again, lots of attention focused on the judiciary. We've heard what's happened in Plateau State. There are many people who don't want to understand the nuts and bolts. They don't want to understand this is what the process is about. All we see is that you're trying to remove one party, turn it to a one-party state. So there are all these conversations going on. Some of them are right, some of them are wrong. But here's the thing. A people's perception is very, very powerful indeed. Sometimes perception doesn't align with reality, but it's a very powerful thing, and it's very important the government takes note of our perceptions. And when that perception leads us into danger, they do all they can to bring us back on course. So the perception now is funny business is going on, and that's why the Osun State thing stuck out at me. And here's the thing. At the end of the day, if more of us believe that the law cannot protect us and we cannot get justice, we are knocking on the door of anarchy. This is how it works. What separates human beings from the animals is amongst many things, our ability to reason, the fact that we have morals and so on and so forth. We're not instinctive. If I want to relieve myself, I won't just go.
Absolutely.
I understand there's a space to do all of that. So our ability to reason and, morals are some of the differentiating factors between us and animals. And if we're not going to reason on our actions, especially people in governance, then there's a big problem. But here's the thing. It's not just them, David. It's us as well. It's us as well. One of the estates I lived in Abuja, new estate, I was one of the first 100 residents there. Lovely place. I was really, happy I made the decision to move there. We had a security protocol at the gates then. This was a time of danger, bombs going off in Abuja and so on and so forth. And the protocol is very, very simple. You pull up, you are recognized facially, and then they inspect your vehicle in your boot. It still continues to, be practiced today in many places. So one day I was driving into the estate and I noticed the car that was in front of me didn't get checked. Instead, the person at the gate, security man, just waved, smiled, and threw out a greeting. I don't know what they said, but he just let the car through. So when it was my turn, I was right behind this vehicle that they just waved through. So I pulled up at the gate and I stopped and I said, you know what? I want to have a word with the chief security officer. And they were wondering what's wrong with this man that Oga just passed. I said, I'm not going anywhere. Okay, I pay my dues in this estate, part of which includes my safety and security. I like our security measures, but you're trying to destroy it and you are damaging and you're putting me in harm's way. They were confused and I caused the commotion. Other vehicles impatiently horning. Some of them came out of their cars, walked to the gate to find out what's going on, what's the hold up. If the man's car is not working, if it's dead, let's push it aside. I said, no, this is what's going on and we should all pay attention. And here's the reason why. I asked who was that person. They said, it's one of the directors, one of the owners of the estate. And I said, and that's why you waved him through. I said, let me explain to you what you have done. The reason you check our boots is to make sure we don't carry any IEDs into the estate, any bombs or dangerous equipment. Now, you are telling the criminals who might want to plan to do that, you're telling them that, do you know what, you can target that estate because it's not every car they check. And furthermore, the so-called director, you have put his life and his family lives in danger, because if one of these criminals kidnaps his son, for example, and says take this bomb into the estate, he will do it.
Absolutely.
And he'll come to your gate and you will say, Oga, pass. And the man will go in, not because he's a criminal, but because he's been compromised. No parent wants to sacrifice their kids. So what I'm trying to say is, when we go outside of due process, we put ourselves in harm's way. So I put up quite a fuss then, and ended up all the cars waiting. This is after a long day's work, and many of them saw reason in what I said. I said our only protection right now is that these people do their job diligently without exception, no matter who is coming through, because any criminal that might have an intention will look and say, do you know what, let's not try that estate. It doesn't matter who's going through, they must check that boot. So that protects us, protects our families, and we're safer. Why? Because we're sticking to the process. So this is the implication of circumventing the law, breaking the law. We're sending signals to people who don't have the means. That is justice really the last hope of the common man? That is the big question mark our actions and the actions of people in governance are putting out. Is justice truly the last hope of the common man? Or are we going to create a situation where people now take the law in their hands? Already we're burning people for stealing mobile phones, and we're applauding people who steal billions. So we're already taking the law into our hands in jungle justice. That's a psychological thing. I don't want to get into that one. So that's the danger of circumventing the process, and that's what's going on in Osun State.
Now I worry particularly because the embattled Chief Justice there actually, I would use the word countersued, taking them to the National Industrial Court, and there was supposed to be a stay on whatever it is that the Osun State government and the state legislature were going to do, even also with regards to the interlocutory injunction that was already given, and still they went on with it. And again, just following everything you've said, which I completely agree with, I wonder how did we get here? What lid was open? What switch was flipped that made us all of a sudden become a collective that have almost sub-zero regard for the rule of law and everything upright, so to speak?
That's the $1 billion question. Let's call it the $1 billion question, David. I look at Nigeria in terms of decades and eras. We had the pre-oil boom, we had the oil boom era, then post-oil boom, which is segmented into so many different parts. And I remember as a kid, this country worked. Now, maybe it was my perception of a Nigeria that's through the eyes of a child, but I'll use some common things as markers on how much we have changed. We never used to fly within the borders of Nigeria. My family, we lived abroad, so anytime we come back, Christmas, summer, whatever it was, we would always drive. And my father insisted the only person that would fly, or people, was my mother and my sister. We could land in Kano, we could land in Lagos, and we would find our way to the northeast. That's where we're from, former Gongola State. And my father was very clear on that. He said, look, I want you to understand the country as we drive through. We always loved driving from Lagos. My uncle was in government then, so we'd land in Lagos, spend a couple of days, and then do a 2-day trip. And he said, I'd like you to understand the country. And kids tend to fall asleep in vehicles, not us. We were always mesmerized by the sights, the sounds, the languages changing as we were traveling, the different road foods. And my dad would stop and would buy all these things and stop and eat and everything. So it was exciting and it was safe. And we'd drive through the night, through the day. It doesn't matter. It wasn't a case of, it's getting dark, let's find a town and hole up in because the roads are not safe. We would just drive and would stop whenever we were tired, and it doesn't matter where. That's how safe the country was. So talking about this change, we had crime then, because I remember there were all these shows of shooting armed robbers on Bar Beach, then tied to barrels, which I thought was absolutely horrible.
Absolutely.
But
the height of those were in the 80s.
There you go. So we had crime, but some parts of the country worked. When did we lose it? I'm not so sure. I think I would point to when the economy started to change. Maybe that started to bring out a different mindset in Nigerians. The structural adjustment program, the need to survive, the fact that people started to count their pennies. I remember we used to use coins.
Oh yes,
10 kobo. I've got these coins still. So now maybe the state of the economy changed our behavior as well.
Cover taking me back down memory lane, long time ago. You're listening to Radio Now 95.3 FM. The news review is going to continue on the other side of the headline news very shortly at the top of the hour. I am David Chido, and this is Radio Now.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
This is Now Breakfast.
Connect with us now via our social media channels. Facebook.com/RadioNow953FM.
We're on Twitter too. Connect with us there and get involved.
At Radio Now 953FM. 953FM. Like what we do? Share it on your socials and tell everyone.
Want to see some more of us? Head over and meet us on Instagram
at Radio Now 953FM. Get in touch. We'd love to hear from you.
This is Now Breakfast.
Across Nigeria, Africa, and the world, this is Radio Now News.
headline news here on Radio Now 95.3 FM. Lagos and local news. Sanwo-Olu issues red alerts to property owners, developers on wetland drainage. Court sacks Mutfwang as Plateau governor. Fuel scarcity looms in southeast other zones as Ipman threatens to withdraw service. Reps urge Tinubu to sign Defense Industries Corporation Armed Forces Trust Fund bills. And to business and economy, Ogun seeks financial inclusion for female entrepreneurs. In entertainment, Ake Art and Book Festival returns for Blood Ties. On the foreign scene, Gaza's main hospital a death zone, says WHO. And to sports, Nigeria holds Zimbabwe to a 1-1 draw in World Cup qualifier. Those are the headlines here on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos at this hour. I am David Chiedu. Now breakfast continues with the news review shortly. Good morning.
This is Radio Now News.
Stay tuned to your Beyond the News station daily for our up-to-the-minute compact news bulletins from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., 4 p.m. and 6 p.m., bringing you a wide range of local and international news from our news desk. Stay informed, stay updated on Radio Now 95.3 FM.
Let's go beyond the news. Let's talk facts.
First and foremost, the government will never kowtow to the threat of any group to give it conditions.
Let's discuss your opinion.
The politicians in Nigeria don't understand the principle of politics.
The day's biggest news stories.
IPOB have been covered in themselves in glory. There is nothing special about them. It's like a witch cried at night and the child died following morning.
This is the news review on Now Breakfast.
Welcome again to the news review. Welcome back to the news review. It's 2 minutes past 8 a.m. here in the studio this fine Monday. And I am David Chiedu. Camry Apollo is with me on the news review this morning. And we're just going to go straight to the stories making the rounds on the front pages of the dailies, touching on the big ones essentially. But of course you can be a part of this conversation this morning. 091 35000 953 and 0901 111 1953. Again, the numbers are 091 35000 953 and 0901 111 1953. On WhatsApp, the numbers are 0809 682 2595. Again, that is 0809 682 2595. We will take your comments as we go on, both on WhatsApp and via the phone lines, by the way, which are already beginning to go off. But let's jump straight to the story. On the Guardian newspaper, Lagos, others caught in fiscal recklessness amid huge legacy debt. That is on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, and it has an infographic. This one says Lagos Rail Mass Transit to 208 billion naira, a bulletproof SUV for COS 440.75 million naira, resident registration agency 7.99 billion naira, fragrance for governor's office, quite the expense, 7.47 million naira, ad hoc chartered plane 400 million naira, and a few others. Legal fees for election 200 million naira. Now that is on the Guardian newspaper, Camry. Now over the weekend we saw the governorship candidate of ADC, Mr. Doherty, putting a letter or addressing a letter to Mr. Governor, also, presenting some document that spells out a number of these things in very copious detail, which, of course, as you would expect, drew the ire of some Lagosians and even non-Lagosians as well. But here we are, essentially. According to that particular, headline quoting, fiscal recklessness. What are your thoughts?
Look, if the numbers don't add up, they don't add up. I did a quick, this is when you were reading the headlines, I did a quick conversion and calculation of one of the items that was listed here, and that is the rehabilitation, reconstruction and upgrades of the phase of the Etiosa Lekki Epe Expressway from Green Springs to Abraham Adesonia in Etiosa and Ibeju Lekki local government. Now, what was built there was 69.94 billion naira. That's what it's been listed as. So I did a quick calculation. I'm very, very at home with engineering, technology, and all that sort of thing. So I did some quick calculation, and here's the thing. Now, as of May this year, first of all, you need to understand how much does it cost averagely to construct. I'm not talking about rehabilitate, to construct 1 kilometer of roads in Lagos. Well, as of May this year, we get a price range of between $200,000 to $300,000 per kilometer, using the exchange rate of 800 and something. I forget exactly what it was. That gives you 247 million per kilometer. Okay, that is to construct 1 kilometer of road in Lagos, depending on the soil conditions and the kind of design you want to bring to bear. So let's use the upper margin, $300,000 for 1 kilometer price in May this year. So the distance I calculated on my Google map, Camry, how long is this road they're talking about? It turns out the distance is about 8 kilometers, about 8.2 kilometers. So if you do a direct conversion, 247 million by 8 kilometers, it gives you the amount I came up with was 1.9 billion naira to sort out that 8 kilometer stretch of roads. Construct it, not rehabilitate. I don't know what kind of rehabilitation. Maybe they're going to line it with platinum. I don't know what it is. But if you're going to construct an 8 kilometer road, my calculations tell me 1.9 billion naira. But these, don't forget, are May 2023 figures. Before, let us say before the devaluation of the dollar, the naira, by this new administration. So let's use again simple figures. Let's say the naira has been devalued by 400%. We know it's roughly 3, but let's use 400%. So everything is 4 times more expensive. Okay, so your 1.9 billion, call it 2 billion, multiply that by 4, gives you what? 8 billion tops. Okay, all right, let's plonk on a couple of other things unforeseen and take it to even 10 billion for the 8 kilometer stretch of roads. That's been listed at 69.94 billion. So I'm curious. Now, I'm not saying I'm correct. I stand to be I'm right. I stand to be corrected. But my mathematics tells me one thing. My journalistic instinct tells me one thing. They need to sit down and show me, how did you arrive at this figure? Because I've just told you how I arrived at mine. I've used averages. I've added estimates. I've overinflated the estimates. I have overcompensated by even 25%. And I still arrive at 10 billion. So explain to me, how is this 69.94 not for a construction? Don't forget, my calculation is construction. This has to do with rehabilitation and reconstruction and upgrade. So you need to question these things. What are we doing?
Okay, Lagos, Nigeria and beyond. Essentially, it calls the question, how, talking about the methods with which we question our leaders.
Sorry, Dave, before you go on, this is for a, that's a 2 lanes. So the expressway might be 6. So if you multiply that by another 3, you get 30 billion. Let me just finish my analysis there.
Right. Okay. Let's have your thoughts. 091350953. Reckon now, under the Office of the Chief of Staff, procurement of a brand new Lexus LX600 bulletproof sport utility vehicle for use in the pool of Office of Chief, awarded for the total sum of 440 million naira plus.
One quick question before we take.
Hold on, let's take Dr. Paul. Dr. Paul is with us this morning. Good morning, Dr. Paul.
David, welcome back to.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Dr. Paul.
Good morning, too. I think so.
No, that is Camry.
Camry, sir.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No worries.
Where is the usual suspect early morning? Are you taking a French leave?
Yes, she needed some time. Also, I allowed her go and rest and, put her feet up and sip something nice.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
We cannot continue to operate and plan all this and all the way. You saw what Malawian president did. Yes, Malawi, that they cannot continue spending money, that their president, everybody should come back, no traveling allowance, that the economy is example for now. Everything, even attending meetings is done virtually. So, that's the way we are here. They say you should pass your belt. I've been fighting. I don't know where the belt will go again. It's annoying. Look at the amount, 400 every time. Yes, the center accepted it. If the center got it right, the center will not be doing all these things. In a country where there is no accountability, spend public funds that is nothing. And they are there to cover it up. Telling you where they're sending it, giving you what I will call unnecessary excuses. They don't want to do just well the way they give excuses. Where they're making such excuses. It's bad. Look at the situation in the country. Look at the level of poverty in the country. Look at the cost of living, cost of things. And they don't bother. They don't care. I've been saying this. Our political governance has never been predicated on any quest for efficiency and effectiveness of purpose. That's why we have done all these things. The president will finish up. He said nobody will ask for his proof. All of them, the governor will finish. Nobody will ask for proof. So if you find people who send you to operate metal war, you go there. Because this is not there. You run a country like your private business. Governor system. And we talk official election or citizen election. And that's the problem. The way we conduct election brings those people to power. If you have an election where people vote to count, most of them will not be there. That's only truth. You may not believe me. After all this election, we are there and have decided. Who? Tell me who Nigeria elected. Yeah, you now, the journal will say, yes, it's people's governor, it's people's president. Look at what he's doing. If the Lagos State government is not fair enough to bring out this thing, Kotimo said, can who put them I said, look at what we are spending. They can. And you challenge him, they are gone. So I don't get it. The way this country is going down every day. I will pretend that nothing is happening. It's quite unfortunate, David.
It is indeed, Dr. Paul. Thank you very much, Dr. Paul. 091 35000 953 0901 111 1953. On WhatsApp, it's 0809 682 2595. Now, that particular document set the internet ablaze with millions of Nigerians, joining the ADC candidate, governorship candidate, that is, to call for, probity and to call for transparency. Camry has done his own calculation, arrived at 10 million.
30 billion thereabouts.
30 billion, yeah. Right, as opposed to the 69 that's earmarked for the rehabilitation and whatnot of the said road. Uche, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Uche.
Good morning. Thank you, David.
Right, welcome.
I'm totally speechless. I have not been calling for a while because I've been outside of the country for probably the last 2 weeks, touring different countries. And honestly, when you come back and you listen to things like this, you just, it is disheartening. I don't know what other adjective to use to qualify how I feel. And I doff my hat for the candidate, Funsho Doherty. He has done the public the greatest good. Like, we all deserve, he deserves our applause. We need to thank people like that because there are very few people who are doing this with the kind of scrupulous detail that he has done it. And it doesn't take really much, and it just takes passion. Right? Now, when you look at the fact that this is just for 2 quarters, this is not for the entire year of 2022. This is just 2 quarters and he has pulled out these figures, then it tells you how much of a mess we are in as a people in Lagos State and by extension the rest of the country. It is thinking. How can you, like David, I don't know whether you guys are normal sitting down there and looking at this thing, because I am not feeling well. I am not feeling well right here where I'm seated. I'm not feeling well because this thing, like, it has destroyed my day. How can we continue like this, crying out loud? How do we allow our politicians get away with murder? Because this is literally somebody getting away with murder, a group of people. How do you budget 400 million for a bulletproof car for a chief of staff, for crying out loud? Like, I don't get it. Okay, look at the analysis that Kami has done about the cost of constructing 1 kilometer. I visited South Africa. I visited, a couple of, I don't mention countries, but I visited a number of countries. And most times when I get into public transportation, whether it's an Uber or the first thing I do is try to strike up a conversation. And, they complain about, corruption, this, that. And I begin to ask them the kind of questions that Kami did. How much did it cost to do this, and that? I go online and I check this, I see how much it costs for a kilometer of roads to be constructed and for the kind of infrastructure I see in those countries. And I do a comparison. We are in deep mess. I don't know how else to say this, but we are letting these guys get away with our future, with our destiny, and the future of our children. That is really what is in jeopardy right there. Honestly, Nigeria is crumbling by the day. Our infrastructure are decaying by the day. We are not feeling the impact of this so much now, but guess what? In the next 10 to 20, 50 years, our children will feel the impact. Those coming after us, they are going to live in a jungle, in a terrible society, if we continue on this path. So I feel like the journalists and the media should also turn the heat up. Somebody has picked up the gauntlet. Funsho Doherty, he has set the ball rolling. I don't think we should sweep this under the carpet. We deserve an explanation from the Lagos State government for this kind of financial record. This is the height of it. Refrigerators, budgeted billions of naira for cars and refrigerators and fans, rechargeable fans. Come on, I am not well.
It gets better. It gets better, Uche. Perfumes.
My brothers, these are the kind of things that can cause an uprising in other countries. I'm not saying we should do that here, but I think we should do better when it comes to holding our leaders accountable.
Right.
We are letting these guys get away with murder, literally. They are stealing our future. I don't know how else we can wake ourselves up. They are stealing our future, literally.
All right, thank you very much, Uche. Appreciate your call. And we do know that you love your country very well because we can hear it in your passion. Thank you very much. Numbers are 091 35000 953, 0901 111 1953 on WhatsApp, 0809 682 2595. We see your message on WhatsApp. Kolawole Karim from Ijora. What we need, Kolawole says, is to create a political culture where people focus on assessing the manifestos of the candidates during an election and vote for the candidates who have the best plan. This can be done in the media. This can be done if the media will stop entertaining any religious or ethnic agitation during election on their platform. Our people are not intellectually sophisticated to the extent that they can handle both candidate policies and ethnicity and religious discussions at the same time. If we can focus on manifestos of the candidates and start electing candidates based on that, competent and good people will have interest in politics. Cameron, I'm going to get your thoughts with regards to Kolawole's message. By the way, Kolawole, thank you very much. Before we get on with that, Martins is joining us from Port Harcourt. Okay, we lost that call. Martins, do give us a call back. 091 35000 953, 0901 111 1953. John, welcome. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Cameron.
Good morning, John.
There was a Roman senator called Cato the Younger. And at the time, he recognized the clear and present danger of Carthage to Rome's rise and progress. And every time he came on the Senate floor, he would start his speech by saying, Delenda es Carthago, Carthage must die. The APC must die. It must end because it's a clear and present danger to Nigeria's coexistence and future progress. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you very much. Some would consider that a very, very strong assertion against the ruling party. And again, like I said earlier, I know that we love our country and we're passionate about it, but let's be a bit more, if you like, circumspect in some of our assertions.
Well, again, when I look at the political parties, I ask myself, what is a political party? On its own, it's not just a symbol, it's not just a flag, it's not just a slogan.
Camry, 1 second, please. I've got Shegun calling us from Ikeja. Hi, Shegun. Morning.
Morning, Shegun.
Welcome.
Camry, actually, what I want to say is that the last caller mentioned about APC, it's no matter of it. APC is just the name of the party. If the people that is there, these people that come together and make APC or Labour Party. My take is, most of our government forget their responsibility. The functions of government is to bring government nearer to the people and provide infrastructure amenities. And if we take a stock of...
Are you still there, Shegun? All right. Yes, Camry, your thoughts earlier.
Yes, again, a political party is more than just a symbol, a name, logo on a ballot paper.
It's
made up of the
push
people.
The ideology.
Yeah, so it's people there, and these people tend to move cross from this party to the other, and so on and so forth. So sooner or later, it gets a bit murky. So I don't know about that. But back to what who was it said on WhatsApp?
Yes.
Yeah, again, it's such a shame because our ethno-religious.
He did say something quite striking. He did say that our people. By our people, I reckon he's referring to Nigerians, are not intellectually sophisticated to the extent that they can handle both candidate policies and ethnicity as well as religious discussions all at the same time. And this is one of the reasons why we're where we are.
Yeah, again, it's such a shame because our ethno-religious sentiments tend to be strong, and the reason is because the country's sentiment, the country's presence is not felt. That's why we harp on justice. Justice is not a respecter of your race, your creed, or this, that, the other. The country needs to take ownership. The thing is, human beings, we are social creatures. We need to belong to something. And if the association you want to belong to is not functional, you're going to move and go to a functional one. And in this case, it's the ethno-religious associations. They are functional. We have our traditional meetings, our gatherings, our so on and so forth. We get our religious gatherings on Fridays and Sundays as well. So these associations, they are very much present, they are very strong, they feature prominently in our lives. That's why we tend to gravitate towards them. But the sentiment of being a Nigerian, that tribe of Nigerians, that's absent. And what would give birth to the tribe of Nigerians? Again, it's things like justice, equity and fairness. Treat everyone equally. So that's what's missing, and that's why we tend to gravitate towards these other, what we call myopic sentiments. It is going to take a bit of doing, but we need to lay down the tracks properly to get it done. Now, regarding the SUVs, I have just one question to ask. Please, how many chiefs of staff have been attacked and by assassins over the last 10 years in Nigeria?
For there to be a need for a bulletproof vehicle.
So why do we need a bulletproof SUV for the chiefs of staff? How many of them have been attacked by assassins? Please, state government, answer us this question. We need to understand we are doing this because every weekend they try to kill this man. And then we can sit down and have a chat about how much this thing costs. But first of all, it's the need. And even go beyond Lagos. How many chiefs of staff have been attacked by assassins in Nigeria over the last 10 years for you to justify this? You just talked about a governor's convoy that was, attacked by criminals in the northern part of the country. So this is a chief of staff. Please, how many chiefs of staff have been attacked by assassins in Nigeria? And then Lagos specifically. And then we can talk about costs.
Well, I'm still looking at that particular 7.45 or 47 million naira that is supposed to be earmarked for a liquid fragrance, essentially a perfume, if you like, if you want to call it that, for the office of Mr. Governor. I'm thinking, how much could a perfume cost to make your office smell pretty good? Should it really cost nearly 8 million naira? I'm just saying. But then again, that is just one of the very many allocations there, or if you like, the very many commodities and services that monies are being earmarked for as far as the administration is concerned.
Don't forget decorations.
Over the last, there's that. Over the last 2 quarters. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have your thoughts. 091-350-953. Now, another thing that came up, during the course of the conversation when this revelation was made a little over 24 hours ago, is if Nigerians really understand the concept of a demand for accountability. Because, we say that, we want to hold our leaders accountable, blah, 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 yada, 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 talk all good and everything. But when it comes right down to it, are we really doing it? Are we really doing that? Do we know how to do that to start with? Because in the end, you find these people, in most cases, pulling one over you. It's a typical case of the more you see, the more you look, the less you see. And so you're telling them, listen, I want you to tell me what you did with XYZ, and they're telling you, this is what it is, and there's almost not much you can do about it. So the question now is, if we are really doing it the right way, or if we know how to do it to start with.
I think we know how to do it. That's the elite in society that President Muhammadu Buhari consistently referred to. People who are educated, exposed and enlightened. People like you and I, David, who have friends that would suddenly find themselves in the corridors of power, and all of a sudden their financial situations improve. And what do? We don't ask them questions. We just say, hey, this guy, he's doing all right now. He's just built another house, he's bought another car, married another wife. So it starts with us. We are enlightened, educated, we understand.
Ambassador, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Ambassador.
Ambassador.
On my day.
Oh, wonderful. It's your birthday, I reckon. Happy birthday, Ambassador.
And King David something. Oh, wow.
Ambassador, happy birthday.
To me, tell me, how are you? Yeah,
Ambassador, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
To me, we need to blame ourselves at times, because we give these politicians opportunity to operate. We give them to do Thanksgiving every Sunday because we did not put pressure on them. If there's any governor that didn't pressure, it's only Lagos. Other states are not happy there. I'm not saying, because I've been sometimes on radio station in East. I can't see anybody challenge you just see Sunday church service, whatever. No pressure on their governor. The governor, can you blame them until we decide to put pressure on these people, either from the north, from the south? That's it. Look, for me, I don't blame the governors at times, though, honestly, because they have a free hand.
Ambassador, are you there? Ooh, looks like we lost Ambassador's call there. Ambassador, unfortunately, that's the much we can take. We've got Aramoni, that's what I call her, by the way, Aramide Folorenshaw, standing by for today's edition of Business Now. This has been the news review. Camry, parting shots in just a few seconds.
I think we need a lot more public enlightenment and awareness, and we need to redefine ourselves. We need to ask ourselves, who are we and what do we want?
Right, Nigerians, if you can answer that question, then perhaps we would get a clear direction with regards to where we want to go, because from the vantage point of very many people, it's gloomy days ahead. I said, very many, not all. It's gloomy days ahead, while some others think, there could be a better day, and that proverbial light at the end of the tunnel, we're all going to get there. And I'm with those people. We're going to get there. It might look very dreary per se, and it might look like we've been trudging for a little too long, but I reckon that eventually we're gonna find that pot of gold at the end of that rainbow, as you were. Stay close. Business Now is up next. Camry, thank you very much for joining me on the news review this morning. I am David Chiedu, and you are listening to Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. Now Breakfast continues with Business Now.
You're listening to Now Breakfast. This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
From the Central Business District of Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital, this is 95.3 Business Now.
Hello everyone, as we welcome you to a new Business and Markets Week. It's Monday the 20th of November. I am Aramide Folorosho, and these are the business quick takes. The Central Bank of Nigeria is expected to begin its two-day Monetary Policy Committee meeting today after failing to hold its September policy meeting following the appointment of a new leadership led by Yemi Cardoso. Analysts are projecting that the central bank will raise its key interest rate further at this week's meeting as the country's inflation keeps rising, peaking at 27.33%. Nigeria is projected to continue facing economic instability in 2024 due to double-digit inflation, and that's according to a report by the Economist Intelligence Unit. The EIU report noted that inflation will remain strong in Nigeria, Angola, DR Congo, Egypt, Ethiopia, Ghana, Sudan, and Zimbabwe in 2024 due to elevated oil prices, and this will likely affect economic conditions negatively. The EIU report also predicts that Nigeria and 4 other African countries will have a double-digit currency depreciation in 2024 due to unsupportive monetary policy. The United Bank for Africa has been named the African Champion of the Year 2023 at the just concluded Africa Financial Industry Summit organized by Jeune Media Group in Lomé, Togo. The huge recognition, according to the Jeune Media Group, stands as a testament to the UBA's unwavering commitment to excellence, innovation, and its pivotal role in shaping the financial landscape across the African continent. Leading Pan-African banking group Ecobank and the African Guarantee Fund have inked a $200 million risk-sharing agreement aimed at fast-tracking economic growth and enhancing entrepreneurial endeavors, particularly for women-owned SMEs across the continent. Ecobank Group CEO Jeremy Awori says the $200 million facility allows the bank to significantly boost its lending capacity to SMEs, which are looking to expand, innovate, and contribute to job creation. The African Export-Import Bank has launched an African gastronomy and culinary arts program under its Creative African Nexus initiative. Professor Benedict Orama, the president of Afreximbank, says the introduction of the program would help to refocus continental efforts towards local food production to ensure food security, reduce high food costs and imports, and minimize the impact of external shocks on Africa's food supply chain. The program would also improve access to finance to help build sector infrastructure such as restaurants, franchises, and packaged goods production plants to develop the local food value chains and increase employment opportunities. The Chief Operating Officer of Oando Energy Resources, Alex Irone, says the energy company is committed to Africa's energy transition plans as the continent looks at an estimated $80 trillion to achieve this target by the year 2060. Irone was speaking on the role of Oando in Africa's energy sustainability plans on a panel moderated by Frontier Africa Reports executive producer Bosin Omofaye at the just concluded Intra-African Trade Fair in Cairo, Egypt. Take a listen.
Oando has always been a company that has looked into the future, several decades, and designed its strategy based on not just a local ecosystem, i.e. Nigeria, we're talking about the African continent. They started off as a downstream company almost 30 years ago, delivering fuel oil to vessels and rig sites, and also importing a significant amount of petroleum products into the country. At some point, we actually imported close to 25% of the major marketers' association production locally into the refined petroleum system for the country. Now, when we realized that the story of Africa was not going to be complete without industrialization, we then moved into the midstream sector, where we piped about 280 kilometers, just under 300 kilometers of physical gas pipelines across Nigeria, taking gas from stranded areas largely to industry. This facilitated a significant increase in the profitabilities of these companies, because hitherto they had used diesel, effectively low pool fuel, right? And not only did they see almost a 40 to 60% savings in their fueling cost, they also obviously benefited, and we all benefit from the emission reduction. About 10 years ago, we ventured into the upstream services and then upstream exploration phase. So Bosun, when you say what we've been doing over the last 30 years, it's been a busy time for us. We are one of the largest producers of crude out of Nigeria and natural gas. In this business, we also support the largest and black start power station for the country. There are only 2 in Nigeria. We actually feed gas to one of them, and we own a 20% stake in that joint venture. So we power the country from a from a gas perspective. Now, I want to speak very briefly about the renewable ambition. We developed Owando Clean Energy as a response to what, again, we see is going to be Africa's journey over the next, we see 3 decades. The 2060 or 2050 target for most African countries still has 55% of that energy basket as gas. We will move from a 90% currently to 55%, and that 40% odd movement will be taken up by renewable energies. But to achieve that, Africa needs $80 trillion US. Half our governments can't pay their civil service. So the fundamental point here is that context of that conversation needs to shift. There's certain truths. We believe that the energy transition for Africa must be Africa-centric. It must understand that gas and oil will take our people out of darkness, and I think that's the first thing. I don't think you can embark on anything in the future if you can't see, right? So we need to get out of darkness. We have to educate our people. The standards of prosperity need to improve, and largely if you provide energy, whether it's electricity or indeed any other form of energy that allows for logistics and all the eco-development type activities to function, creates prosperity. So we've got to do that. That is our responsibility. As we do that, yes, we have to keep an eye on a transition, and we must understand gas is not just a transition fuel, but it's a sustaining fuel. It's your base load. There is no future of renewables without a base, and that base is going to be gas. So the conversation about fossil fuel exploration or extinction needs to be tweaked to a realistic perspective. The final thing, Bosun, before I just come back to you, is the fact that 5% of the top polluters in the United States create more carbon than the entire continent of Africa. I want you to understand this perspective. It is not a conversation about the carbonization for Africa. It's a conversation about how does Africa develop in a low carbon environment. That's what we must consider.
This is 95.3 Business Now.
That was Alex Irune, the Chief Operating Officer of Owando Energy Resources, speaking on an energy-focused panel at the recently concluded Intra-African Trade Fair in Egypt. Well, coming up after the break, a new initiative to foster women's knowledge and participation in Nigeria's investment market. We'll be looking at that after this break. This is Business Now.
This is 95.3 Business Now.
Every second and every minute, something new happens. The news brings.
People at a spot and angry mobs decided to bomb.
Everyone wants to share it, but not everyone wants to dig deep. Now that's where we come in. We bring you the news and go beyond with in-depth conversations and analysis with stakeholders.
I honestly think that the federal government on its own part has
if voters or more people want to be part of that decision-making process, they need to be part.
GDP is not a good measure of development anyways. We are not there. We need to counter the narrative of the fact that our vote does not count. If your vote does not count.
We bring you the story within the story, and that's what makes us tick. We are Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos, and we go beyond the news.
We are Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos.
This is 95.3 Business Now.
Welcome back to Business Now. The NGX Regulation Limited on Friday formally unveiled a new initiative tagged Equip Her, which is focused on empowering women and driving inclusive growth within Nigeria's equity market. Speaking to bridging the knowledge gap for women in the Nigerian capital market at the event launch was Odiri Ogini, the Chief Executive Officer of United Capital Asset Management. Take a listen.
Beyond knowledge, one of the major reasons why women shy away from the stock market is confidence. They don't know, but even when they know, they don't know that they know. The interesting thing about this study is the study focused on financial literacy consistently shows that women are more likely to respond that they do not know. However, when that do not know option is removed, women tend to get the answer correctly. What that means is that even us as women, we know more than we think that we know. And that's an issue of confidence. Sometimes women don't really play in areas where they can generate significant return and grow wealth simply because of lack of confidence. They know. So we left the gap of we do not know. Now we have moved to the gap of we know, but we don't have it. So when we are approaching the issue of financial education and financial literacy, particularly for women, it's a twofold game. It's a knowledge gap, addressing the knowledge gap. It's also more importantly to address the issue of confidence. So both knowledge and confidence are critical to stock market participation. Those who have less financial knowledge and less confidence are less likely to invest in the stock market. So for women, what we need to do is to be more should be more fearless. It's important for us to be able to stand, and look at that goal, and play more actively in the capital market. You see, when men engage in the stock market, they know that they will lose. They know that there is a risk of their principal being eroded. But their mindset is more focused on, but what if I gain? What if this price goes up? What if I gain significantly from the market? But not as women, even me sometimes, when I take a step into it, I've done my analysis, I said, this is a winner. I enter small with one leg. Yes, I enter small with one leg. So I know, I've done my analysis, so, I know that this thing will appreciate, this thing, it's set. Fundamentally, this is the right investment, but I will still put one leg in cases. But the men are not like that. They go head on. I lose big. I win big. So confidence is also a major issue for us as women, and we will see in the course of addressing some of those gaps. How both as regulators, as capital market operators, as financial advisors, how we can help women not just build knowledge, but more importantly also to build confidence in investing. So I will move on to looking at how women can develop a healthy investment culture. How can we develop a healthy investment culture? And it starts really with the basic. There is no need embarking on an investment journey without knowledge. So knowledge is the fundamental, self-knowledge. Self-knowledge is the fundamental. Familiarize yourself with the investment concept. What is risk? What is return? I always like to say it's not quantum physics. Maybe it can be quantum physics, but it really is not quantum physics. And the beauty about it is that the more you are learning, the more you are engaging, the more you are getting interest, and the more, it becomes more exciting for you. So the first step really is self-education. Educate yourself. Start with the basics. The beauty about technology today is that you can get information anywhere. You can access information, not those days that it's only those who play actively in the market that can have access to information. Today, information is everywhere, which is both good and bad, because you can get the wrong information also. But self-education is the most important thing. Familiarizing yourself with basic investment concepts, understanding what those asset classes are, understanding market trends, just start with reading, develop that interest in investing. The second point I'm going to speak to is set clear financial goals. Set clear financial goals. They could be short-term goals, they could be long-term goals, but we need to be clear about our goals, because the truth is, what is driving your investment journey is really your goals. Why do you set aside money for? Why do you set aside money for anything? It's goals. I want to buy a car next year. I want to pay for school fees next year. I want to pay for children. Those are goals. So setting clear financial goals also helps, develop a very healthy investment culture. And then, when you set those goals, you know that this money is not to be touched. It's not tomorrow I see something I like, I have more money somewhere. No. So when you set clear financial goals, it also helps you, be focused on investment. And then understand your risk appetite. There is a general finding that women tend to be risk averse. We tend to shy away from risky investment opportunities, but it's also important for us to understand our risk appetite. Not every woman is risk averse. Some people are naturally risk seekers by their nature. God gave them extra risk capacity. The majority of what really is for you understanding what is your limits. What is it that I can do? How can I stretch myself? So having an understanding of your risk appetite, now it can help you also to use education and knowledge to improve, but you must first understand what exactly is your risk appetite. And then the next point I'll speak to is start early and be consistent. Start early and be consistent. A lot of the time is when we are getting towards retirement that people now become conscious about saving and investing, which is very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Because what happens at that time, you now fall into the hands of wrong investors. You now want to, that's more money that you have, you now want to double it in a short time. So starting early is very critical, and then be consistent. Starting earlier, because there's no need saving money in January, and the next time you are saving is in 18 months' time. Yes, it doesn't work like that. Start early, and the beauty about starting early is that it doesn't matter how much you start with. Can you imagine, because there is the benefit of compounding. Can you imagine starting to save 10,000 naira every month from your salary when you're 21? Now by the time you are 60 and retiring or looking to retire, do you know how much that 10,000 is? 10,000 has grown for almost 40 years. That's the power of starting early and being consistent.
This is 95.3 Business Now.
Odiri Ogini, the Chief Executive Officer of United Capital Asset Management. We're coming up next. Our market review is next. After this, we'll be right back, everyone.
This is 95.3 Business Now.
Every second and every minute, something new happens. The news breaks.
People at the spot and angry mobs decided to bomb.
Everyone wants to share it, but not everyone wants to dig deep. Now that's where we come in. We bring you the news and go beyond with in-depth conversations and analysis with stakeholders.
I honestly think that the federal government on its own part has broken.
If voters or more people want to be part of that decision-making process, they need to be part.
It is not a good measure of development anyways. We are not there. We need to counter the narrative of the fact that our vote does not count. If your vote does not count.
We bring you the story within the story, and that's what makes us tick. We are Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos, and we go beyond the news.
We are Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos.
This is 95.3 Business Now.
I am Arami Day Shaw, and straight into the trading week that ended Friday the 17th. I will start with equities. The bullish trend persisted for the third consecutive week in the domestic equities market, with investors showing interest in bellwether stocks. MTN Nigeria 2.9% in the positive. We've also seen Seplat. We saw that last week, 7.4%. Airtel Africa 1.1%, pushing the NGX All Share Index to a 0.37% weekly increase. Well, across frontier African markets, the Egyptian main index finished on Thursday at 1.01% stronger, while the Kenya main stock saw an uptick of 0.37% on Friday. Here in West Africa, we've got the regional exchange in Abidjan reporting a 0.17% gain, while the Ghana stock market finished flat. In Southern Africa, the Zimbabwe stock market posted a 1.83% advance, as the JSE in South Africa was positive by 0.25% at the close of trading on Friday. Let's get to money market now, where overnight lending rate among commercial banks in Nigeria increased by 462 basis points last week to 22.2%, and that's following the tight liquidity conditions at the start of the week, and debits for the FGM bond primary market auction of 434.50 billion naira, outweighing inflow from the open market operation maturities of 30 billion naira. While in fixed income last week, bullish sentiments persisted in the Treasury bill secondary market. Market players continue to cherry pick instruments with attractive yields. And activities in the FGM bond secondary market closed the week on a bearish note. Average yield expanded by 6 basis points to 15.8%. But let's bring in the currencies market statistics for the week from FMDQ Securities Exchange. A total turnover of $792.98 million was recorded at the spot and FX derivatives segment, showing an increase of 16.92% from the $678.24 million reported in the prior week. The decline in FX derivatives turnover was driven mainly by the 77.87% decrease in FX forwards turnover, while there was no activity in both the exchange-traded FX futures and the cleared Naira-settled non-deliverable forwards market. In the FX spot market, the total value of transactions was $787.75 million, representing an increase of 20.34%. Looking into exchange rate now, the average Nigerian autonomous foreign exchange fixing rate was 839 naira 74 kobo against the US dollar, thus representing a depreciation of 1.27% by the naira against the dollar. A quick look at oil prices now, which rose on Friday, a day after sinking 5% to a 4-month low on growing worries about burgeoning non-OPEC supply and cooling demand. The West Texas immediate contract for December rose $2.21 or 3.03% to $75.11 per barrel, while the Brent contract for January rose 3.2% or $2.49 to $79.91 a barrel. So both benchmarks have lost around a sixth of their value over the last 4 weeks, and prices are on track for the 4th straight week of losses. Oil's decline last week was mainly triggered by a steep rise in U.S. crude inventories and production sustaining at record levels, while signs of thawing demand in China also triggered concerns. With Brent below $80 a barrel, a barrage of analysts now expect OPEC Plus, primarily Saudi Arabia and Russia, to extend their voluntary cuts into 2024. Finally, the annual conference of the African Securities Exchange Association starts on Wednesday till Friday in Nairobi, Kenya. All the 35 member exchanges on the continent are expected to be in attendance for the annual summit. Business Now will bring you highlights of the ASEA conference in the week. Well, that's the package on Business Style this Monday. Make sure you have a profitable week, everyone. I am Aramide Folorunsho. It's bye for now.
This is 95.3 Business Now.
In order to keep up with our culture of excellence and continue to bring you the very best of radio programming, we invite you, our dear esteemed listener, to share your concerns with us on any of our content and or broadcast practices that you consider unsatisfactory. You can reach us via WhatsApp on 0809 682 2595. That is 0809 682 2595. This is for us to get your feedback on our efforts to continue to build and maintain our relationship with you and also to serve you better. Thank you for choosing Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm a trader operating a chain of supermarkets. I engage in monthly comfortable contributions with my insurance company. It gave me the opportunity to inject capital into my business during peak periods and reap handsome returns. I never knew that an insurance company can be that helpful. Kudos to Mutual Benefits Assurance for such innovative and business-sustaining insurance products.
Take advantage of the delightful offers and experience the peace that comes with knowing that you can count on Mutual Benefits Assurance to protect you and what you value the most. Call Mutual Benefits Assurance today on 0905-474-4444 to get started and enjoy these and more, or visit www.mutualng.com for more information. Mutual Benefits Assurance, creating and protecting wealth.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
You're listening to Now Breakfast.
Welcome back. It is still Now Breakfast on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. We're about to pull the curtains down on today's edition of the program, but not before Stephen lets us know what's going on. Hi, Stephen.
Good morning, David.
Good morning. How was your weekend?
It was good. It was a sleepy weekend, so loved it.
Okay, he spends the entirety of it resting, which is totally good. I wish I had the luxury of both days.
I don't think I rested enough, so this weekend for me was just, I spent all of Saturday, inside the house. I didn't step out on Saturday, and it was good. I think that you need one weekend to rest from the week you just had. You need another day